when you launch a product, if you don't consult with your target audience, you may miss something. Very often sellers do. And then you receive bad reviews, and then it's just way harder compared to actually launching with your community. So that's what I've always been doing with my first brand. I had a Facebook group, and I would consult with these people all the time. I would design products together. And then when I launch, obviously they support the launch because they feel like they co-designed it. They're part of the process, right? So it made it so much easier. And some competitors that I later met in person assumed I was doing some kind of black hat because I was ranking so well.
Hey everyone, this is Brent with AMZ Pathfinder, and we're back with Beyond PPC, the show where I talk about things that are not advertising related and instead talk to interesting folks in the Amazon space who I've met at conferences or online over the years. And today we have a guest we've never had on before named Andri Sadlak. He's from productpinion.com. Andri is many things, actually. Amazon seller, e-com brand builder, co-founder of Product Pinion, a software that's been around for a couple of years. We'll definitely be diving into that. And it's probably best known for full cycle A/B testing. Andri, I think you can explain what that means because I don't understand what full cycle A/B is. And he's known for his expertise diving into Amazon sales growth by leveraging data-driven strategies, a particular emphasis on conversion rate optimization, A/B testing, maximizing brand revenue. But his story is long and interesting, and we'll get to several parts of it. So Andri, that was a big intro, but hello, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Brand. Appreciate it. Pleasure being here.
Yeah, thanks, man. Really appreciate you coming on. And actually, fun fact about you, a couple things. I met you at Seller Sessions Live in London. Shout out Danny, one of our mutual friends and a great person in the Amazon space, last year. But then I met you again in Prague this year, and I actually forgot that I met you the first time. So egg on my face for that one.
No problem. People don't usually forget when they meet me, but it's okay. I forgive you.
I'm usually so good at that, but this time something just slipped, and maybe it was your name. It's a little bit tough. Andri. Okay. Andri, but I got it now. And now you are locked in. I will never forget you, actually. So it's all
Appreciate
good.
It.
Once I make that mistake, never again. A couple other fun facts about you. We're not going to go too deep into biographical information because if anybody wants to listen to that, Danny did a very good episode with you all about your life up to Product Pinion and the crazy twists and turns that have happened. But one thing I thought was really shocking, and I almost dropped my phone when I was listening to the podcast. I learned about this. You actually sold your family home in Canada to fund your Amazon business, which at the time was having some struggles, but it was like right on this kind of knife's edge of success or not success. And you decided to sell your home to do this. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It did happen. I think it was 2018. So it was like 6-7 months into running my business. First brand and really first real business ever. Around that time, I had business success followed with losing my job and followed with essentially losing my business. So I celebrated 20K months of revenue, which was the first big milestone. About a week or two later, my employer said, we're going through restructuring. We don't need you anymore. Yeah. And then about a week or two later, I started getting 1 2-star reviews, realizing that the new stock that just arrived was 5,000 units. Just didn't work. And I was selling scratch-off maps. Yeah. Product that all the gurus were saying just don't get in that market. I was selling those and they just wouldn't scratch. People couldn't scratch them. So I had to throw all of that inventory into garbage eventually. So I lost over 35K USD, like shipping and cost of goods and everything. Not taking into account lost opportunity, obviously. Sure. And the only thing I had left was my little townhome in a town called Kelowna in Canada. And I was like, okay, I don't have a job. Why don't I just go all in and put that money I have left into this business, because now I understand how it works. And it's hard to go back to the previous life, like before you started your entrepreneurial journey, if you already tasted that freedom, Yeah. So yeah, that was the decision making.
That is incredible. And thanks for the context behind that. I mean, if you wanted to have like a clickbait thumbnail title for this video, like that would be it for sure. And then as I understand, you had, a life-changing exit a couple years after, kind of during the run-up peak of the aggregator boom, you sold that same business, right? A couple years later. So that's pretty incredible. And then eventually started or co-founded Product Pinion with your business partner, Matt, is it?
Yeah. Matt Costa is my partner. I sold that business after 3 years of running it. Wasn't crazy big exit, but it did give me a taste of what's possible. And back then it was definitely life-changing for me as an immigrant. And I also had Ecom Brand Builder Mastermind, and that was our beta group to fully test out product opinion and collect that initial feedback and improve it. Yeah, that's how everything started with my current business.
Yeah, that's really cool. And that Ecom Brand Builder Mastermind, that was a Facebook group or a private community, if I understood correctly from the other show?
Yeah, it was like a small invite-only private community. Wasn't really going for like competing with MDS and Titan, but it was something that we really cherished because we liked the people there, and yeah, really worked well.
Let me ask you this. So we got a couple questions lined up as usual, but let me ask you this. It's not one I think I had planned until now, but do you think that having a private community where you're able to solicit feedback helped you kind of iterate the software early on, such that the feedback loop was very short, right? You had a group of 100%. Captive people that already knew you. Here's what we built. What do you think? Instant feedback. Okay, cool. Incorporate, close the feedback loop. Like Amazon always talks about a flywheel.
100%.
We have a feedback loop here too.
Yeah, absolutely. That was to me, that was a game changer, because it's just like with Amazon. When you launch a product, if you don't consult with your target audience, you may miss something. Very often sellers do. And then you receive bad reviews, and then it's just way harder compared to actually launching with your community. So that's what I've always been doing with my first brand. I had a Facebook group, and I would consult with these people all the time. I would design products together. And then when I launch, obviously they support the launch because they feel like they co-designed it. They're part of the process, right? So it made it so much easier. And some competitors that I later met in person assumed I was doing some kind of black hat because I was ranking so well. But that was just me being really connected with the community. And that's the same philosophy we apply in Product Opinion, same philosophy that our customers of Product Opinion actually use by leveraging focus groups that we provide through Product Opinion as well.
That's a perfect segue. Okay, cool. So let's jump into some of these other questions. So talking about iteration, from being in a lot of Amazon spaces and communities, conferences, like I just saw you at in Prague, it seems like the more presentations I see, the more people I talk to, it seems to me the speed of iteration for Amazon creative has increased. Maybe it was a couple of years ago, someone would, let's switch our image twice a year. And now it's like, no, let's do it every quarter. Let's test it constantly. Let's make sure it's changed for Easter, which is of course coming up, or like summer sales if you have a product that's appropriate for that. And the bar for making creative is also higher. You can't just have like mediocre product images anymore. As someone that runs a company that does a lot of A/B testing, would you agree or disagree with this kind of assessment?
Totally agreed. And I feel like we're also referring to the business cycle of the whole e-commerce space. Obviously, in the beginning, like 10 years ago or so, when some of our friends would start selling, it was a totally different game. Like essentially sell anything without even trying. Now, obviously, the market has matured, and there are lots of players. And some players come with capital. Some players come with marketing knowledge. Some players come with understanding, leveraging shopper insights and customer objections. And if you don't do all of that properly, you can't really compete, because you don't have any advantage of being first to market anymore. Pretty much all of the big niches, evergreen niches, are taken. And the way you can survive is by out-carrying your competition, by serving your customer better. And how do you serve them better? Is addressing the right concerns, answering all the right questions, showing what actually matters to the customer, keeping customer as the hero in mind, instead of just blasting left, right, and center about your product, right? So all of these things, if you don't leverage in your creatives, very hard to survive these days. And you know that from the PPC standpoint, the cost of advertising went up like crazy last few years. Yeah. And it's not going to slow down, I don't think.
I think it's still dependent somewhat on category and time of year. But when someone says that, I generally speaking agree with them, because not only has the cost of CPCs gone up just because more players are in the market, but there is sort of a saturation feeling we get in some categories where it's like Amazon has put as many ads as they possibly can in sponsored ads, at least. DSP is a whole nother question, of course. But with sponsored ads, there's not really more they can add to the marketplace without it degrading the customer experience, which I think is something they're trying to avoid, and maybe at times have gone a little bit too far and then pulled back. But anyway, we don't want to talk about ads too much. I know we could, because I know you know a lot about ads too, but we don't want to dwell on that too much. I would say, to your other point, I've heard it said that we're not really in the product business, we're in the like overcoming objections business. So it's like, when someone lands on the page, what you're trying to do is basically figure out all the possible objections they could have. You've already got them on your page. It's like getting someone to your website. They're already, 90% of the battle is already fought. You've got them. They see what you're selling. Now you just have to overcome the objections. So when I think about iteration of creative, that's what I think about. And I hope that, that's what people using Product Opinion are thinking too. How do we address all these objections that someone might have?
Yeah, totally. And you kind of skip through the very important part too. How do you actually get them to end up on your listing?
that is key. That is key.
Yeah, that's not an easy job these days. And I would say, honestly, 80% of your success comes from leveraging the attention properly. So you want them to click on you first and foremost. And if you don't mess it up, once they are on your listing, you got the sale. So it's like two-part, or I should say three-part. There's traffic, then there's click-through rate, and there's conversion rate. So all three have to be mastered equally well, but it's in that sequence. You gotta get the traffic first, you gotta get the clicks so they end up on your listing, and then you gotta get the sale, convert them.
So knowing what you know, what are some table stakes for a product listing in 2025? Here we are in Q2. What does an Amazon listing look like that is hitting the bar, is not below bar, is not like, something that's substandard? We've got things elevated to a pretty high level these days. What does it look like? And how can you tell if it's out of line? Yeah, what are like table stakes if you want to be at the table, considered?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think first and foremost, you need to understand whether your sales are coming mostly from desktop or mobile. If at least 40% come from mobile, you got to do something about adjusting for the mobile experience. It's a little different, nothing crazy, but at the very least, you need to adjust your main image to be a little more vertical. I recommend 4:5 aspect ratio to maximize that Amazon search results page for taking more real estate on the mobile devices, if that makes sense. It also looks totally fine on desktop, so you're not losing anything if even 50-60% are still desktop, okay? And you can check the data, obviously, in your brand analytics, in the demographics section, and you can know for sure how many people from mobile devices buy. Then you definitely want to leverage AI at this point. AI is such a great overall new wave of human development, and it definitely helps in the images side of things too. The simplest thing you could do is run prompts where you essentially asked something like ChatGPT or any alternatives, improve this image. So you upload the main image, explain why, keep the white background and stuff like that, and make it look better. Sometimes the results are pretty impressive, and ChatGPT is usually very, very smart. So things that we may overlook, say proportions, angles, lighting, can potentially be done better by the AI improvements. And then I would test it. And I've been testing a lot of this lately. I'd say 8 out of 10 images, obviously depending on the category, but overall, I'd say 8 out of 10 images done by AI with these improvements perform much better, get more clicks on an A/B test. Okay, so definitely leverage that.
Do you mean versus human created ones, like AI versus human created?
Yeah, we had some shots. The latest one was like costumes, so essentially humans wearing costumes.
Yeah,
and we tested a lot of the costumes that are like AI recreated images, and those were getting more clicks because somehow the posture was better, or the smile was better, or whatnot.
That's incredible.
Even the details more clear,
That reminds me of something else I saw a comment on, maybe in your WhatsApp group, actually, which I'm not sure if we can talk about. I'm not sure if that's top secret.
We can mention.
we can mention it. Okay, yeah. So
keep the intrigue.
Let's just tease it for now. But there's a WhatsApp group where a lot of good discussions about this happen, and I think someone commented on one of the images for a product, not with a human, just like an image with a background. And it said it would take me like 2 years to learn how to use Blender, which is like a very well-known tool to do like 3D modeling and stuff, to make a drop shadow and like dimensionality of the product like that by hand. And AI just did it like in minutes, just with a series of prompts and some images that you feed into it. And it came up with something like, wow, look at that depth of field. Look at the 3D shadow, his, shockingly powerful stuff. So anyway, I don't want to derail you. Please tell me what else.
No, you're right. It's getting very, very smart, and you have to leverage it. It's there for you. It's almost free, so gotta use it. Something else I wanted to mention. So speaking of conversion, more so at this point, index image, which is the second image, and it is the second most important image on your listing. You gotta optimize that too. Don't ignore it. And what I recommend people use it for is what my partner calls the Costco method. So list reasons why people want to buy a product. Like, why shop at Costco? Why buy this fridge at Costco, right? Same here. Why buy this product? And I recommend 3 to 5 items. They don't have to be wordy. Keep words to minimum. And also, what's very important, number them. So you want to number them 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that triggers something in our psychology that if we start something, we want to finish. And if there are numbers, we're more inclined to finish the whole list. So if all 5 or all 3 are critically important, you know that because you studied shopper behavior, you got all the customer objections from testing that we can talk about later, then you kind of want to address all of them. And if people have that in their mind, it creates no reasons for them to shop around and consider anything else. So second image is like your closer. And the reason that's the case, we have very short attention span. Honestly, most people don't go through more than 3, 4 images. Most people, spoiler alert, don't even look at your A+ content. They look at the main image, they look at the price point reviews, they look at the second image, they jump to the negative reviews, they make their decision.
And you're not even betting on them seeing the bullet points necessarily. You could put so much work into those. And on mobile, they do show up differently than desktop, I realize. Yeah. But still, you could put so much work into those, and you'd probably be better off, it sounds like you're arguing, just replicating those in a more succinct manner in the second image. You're calling it the index image. Is that what your terminology is for?
Yeah. Right, if you're using the reasons to buy a product, the bullets, find a way to translate it very concisely into the second image, which what we call index image.
Great. That's a super tip. Yeah, that's really powerful. And I'm just imagining something you mentioned earlier, the percentage of people buying on mobile. I know that we've worked with a lot of baby products over the years at Pathfinder, many baby brands, and we work with some currently. And if you actually look at the data inside of Seller Central for mobile versus desktop, some baby products, sometimes of year, they can be up to 70% people on mobile, like the sessions are mobile. So you know that it's like parents who I'm assuming are quite busy on their phones looking for some kind of product or solution, and they're scrolling through the images, probably swiping through. Those are probably the kind of people that would be looking at the index image and making some decisions based on that, instead of saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to take a measured approach and read the reviews for 15 products, or make sure to look at the A+ content for everything. That's not really how people think, right?
No, you're right.
So
yeah, something else to add to it, since we're talking about the basics, the minimum requirements, and I still see a lot of that on Amazon. People don't explain what's on the image. And we now know for sure, I tested it myself, that if you use keywords on the image, Amazon will read those, recognize them, and use it to index and rank you for those keywords. So definitely use that space strategically and find a way to kind of be in the middle ground, not being keyword staffy, while also using strategically the right keywords, explaining what's on the image. Sometimes you see images, let's say it's a baby product, it's like, let's say diaper caddy, and there's a picture of diaper caddy on the picnic table. And like, what exactly do I see here? What's the benefit? Maybe you want to say that it's, I don't know, perfect for all weather scenarios, and it's, I don't know, waterproof or whatever. You gotta explain it on the image by saying that, ideally at the very top. And if you want to see some examples, I usually refer to Anchor. They do it perfectly. Very simple image, one statement. You know exactly why you're looking at that image.
They're pros for sure. I say that owning multiple Anchor products, cables, power banks, and having noticed their Amazon listings, I think they have probably a whole team devoted to that.
Yeah, they figured it out.
I would trust that they know what they're doing there. Cool. So onto the point of mistakes. I mean, what are common mistakes that you see again and again? You know, here we are, middle of 2025. Mistakes that you've either seen for years or mistakes that are maybe new that you see sellers and brands making on Amazon when it comes to creative and you know, even methodology with A/B testing. Like, what are they doing wrong?
That's a loaded one. I'd say I still talk to a lot of people who are relying mostly on their own opinion on what creatives are better. And they don't really split test. So that's another one. They're not leveraging even manage your experiments that's built into Amazon, which I think everybody has to use all the time. There always has to be something in the background for you. And also more recently, not leveraging AI enough yet. Okay, so I would say these three: relying on your opinion too much, not testing enough, and not leveraging AI enough. And all three are critically important. But first one, I think, was my mistake in the beginning. I would just think that I know better. And I would upload something that looks better because I studied architecture. I understand what visuals have to look like, you know? Then I was slapped in the face multiple times by losing conversion. And I was like, okay, I don't know anything. Let me ask people, because my job is to grow the business, not to please my ego, right? So yeah, just don't be egocentric. Ask your ideal target audience, and always be split testing.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, the MYE, manager experiments. So I've got a decent amount of experience with this, and it's something we've used on and off as a service for clients. Yeah, do you have a strong opinion on MYE? I mean, obviously you have product opinion, but that is not something that's on Amazon. That's a tool that's before Amazon, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But like when it comes to MYE, my understanding is it's just an externalized version of Amazon's own A/B testing. And I've had conversations with people at the ads team, and I say, hey, why don't you have this, but over here for us? I've never gotten a satisfactory answer to date, but it's a really cool feature that it even exists. I mean, do you have any kind of tips or thoughts about MYE?
Yeah, I love it. You got to use MYE, which is manage your experiments. Oh, clear pros. And if we take a step back to kind of understand why this is important and what it is, it's essentially shopper insights, but there are two major types of shopper insights. There's qualitative and quantitative. So qualitative would be more like understanding the behavior, seeing the reasoning, understanding the big why, and quantitative is pure data, right? Just like if you're wondering which product on the search results page is selling the most, you can probably run something like Helium 10 or Jungle Scout and see the numbers. This is quantitative, who's winning, right? Same with manage your experiments, A/B test on Amazon. If you upload an option B and you split test the old versus the new, you can, after 4 to 8 weeks, understand which one's winning, but you have no idea why. And Amazon's not going to tell you. They're not collecting the data. Important to do the quantitative, but in order for you to get to the best option B that you're ready to upload on Amazon, you have to actually study your target audience. And that's where tools like Product Opinion come in very handy, because we have, like more than anyone, a lot of qualitative options. So first and foremost, we get people to record their screen. So think of a Loom video, okay? And they can record their screen. You can watch how they interact with search results, with your listing, with your competitor listings, while they answer your questions out loud. So it's the closest possible experience to actually talking to them. You essentially watch how they shop. And that gives you some good ideas. And very often, I would find the best ideas for developing new concepts through seeing that interaction between my target audience and Amazon interface and my product specifically. And then these concepts, you can A/B test. You can A/B test it on Product Opinion and get reasoning. Hey, I like this because it has red ribbon, or it has the award, or it's dentist approved, or it's vegan, and that's why I'm clicking on it. Now you have more context. You understand what matters to your people. And you may not be vegan, but all of a sudden you realize you're selling to 30% of vegans. And now it's critically important to also be claiming that, right? Small things like that, you can't really guess until you actually ask people open-ended, right? So that's qualitative testing. And once you have your winning option, let's say you have 3 new concepts, you develop 3 concepts with a graphic designer or AI, whatever you use, and these new images seem to be better, you split tested all of them on Product Opinion and figure out, oh, option B is the best, got the most clicks. This is not enough. Do not upload it to manage your experiments yet, because Amazon is about context. Your current worst looking image, in your opinion, may still perform better, okay? And here's why. What you want to do instead is run what we call an Amazon search simulation poll, where people providing feedback see you against up to 7 similar competitors. You can handpick them, upload them there, and the way people provide feedback, they see search results. It's simulated, but it looks just like Amazon. It's coded. And then when they click on one of them, the exact same way they would click on Amazon, because it's pretty much the experience they have every day, they have to explain. And you want to measure if, in that setup, your old image gets more clicks or your new one gets more clicks. It's not always that straightforward. And then you can also read the responses, kind of understand why the winners are becoming the winners. It becomes much more clear. And only if you win that way, your click share becomes so much more in that setup with a new image. Then I would upload it to manage your experiments. Then you have high confidence that you're not going to waste 2 months waiting for the results. You'll probably get better outcome with the new image.
Okay, that's a beautiful workflow. So let me run it back so I understand fully. You know, to upload something to manage your experiments directly would be probably to waste time, because you don't have the qualitative, right, understanding of why it's doing better than other thing. And actually, in our experience with manager experiments, a lot of times the test finishes and it's not conclusive, actually. So
Yeah.
you didn't really accomplish anything. It just said, well, it's kind of the same. What you're suggesting is the superior workflow with product opinion, where you're doing the multi-choice selection test, figuring out qualitatively which one's the best, and then running it through this Amazon simulation, which I actually didn't even know that you guys did. That's very cool.
I gotta show you.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So that is the next component. Let's say there's 6 or 7 other competitors, and that's a simulacrum of a Amazon environment. And then at that point, you have the resulting diamond that pops out of the bottom of that process is what you put into manager experiments, and then you'll have something really substantial to show.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. It's easier usually to digest when you have a real life example.
Mhm.
So we had this case study for knee pillows. Some people, when they slip on the side, they put a knee pillow in between their knees, and there are multiple different sellers, so pretty much the same design. Everybody's showing it horizontally, and one of them shows the knee pillow standing vertically instead. So all of a sudden they break that pattern. You get that attention naturally because it stands out. Like, what happened? You pay attention. What they do next? So it's not just to get the attention. They realized, because they must have done some shopper insights, that it's critically important for these people that it's some kind of doctor approved, certified, or whatever. There's authority figure saying this is good.
Mhm.
So they said orthopedic approved. And then they put like a handprint on it, showing that it's memory foam. They didn't say it, it's visual. So all the major constraints, once they got the attention, were addressed. As we were doing the qualitative testing with videos, we realized that people were wondering if the covers are washable. Is it a washable cover? Can I wash it in my washing machine? I'm like, okay, no, that makes sense. And nobody talks about it in the space.
Mm.
So we're like, okay, this is another way we can stand out because it seems like a lot of people care. Would I have guessed that? No way. I'm not washing my stuff. I don't think about it, right? So we put a big label saying machine washable, which it is. Another idea came from that is maybe we can offer, like, obviously another launch, 2 covers. So while one is being washed, another's ready. So now you have another reason to buy this product over any other one, right? If it's that critical. Then we got orthopedic approved or some version of that is developed by doctors or something like that. And we put it vertical as well. So now he's not the only one stealing the attention. And we added some very nuanced, almost toxic colors to underscore the critical points on the packaging. So you definitely pay attention because everything's like nice colors, white background, calm, and boom, all of a sudden there's like, I think it was like yellow greenish, to underscore things. And now you got their attention, it stands vertically, it's also orthopedic approved, and it's machine washable. And in your mind as a shopper, you're like, oh, so nobody else is?
Right.
I'm clicking on this one. So all of these insights, they're like more than just a new angle or new lighting or 3D model versus real photo. That's like reasoning that humans have when they make their purchase decision, and you got to learn that. Otherwise, you can't survive.
Right. And that's all stuff you learn from running it through product opinion and understanding with each subsequent step of these battery of tests and feedback you get from, intelligent shoppers.
Yeah.
That shortcuts that whole process. So, you don't have to try to figure that out by trial and error. You get it from actual responses.
From the source. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. And it's that same thing I talked about earlier, the objection, overcoming objections. You've overcome all these objections. So someone's like, well, how do I wash it? How do I keep it clean? Oh, look at that. Removable, washable cover. And I can buy a second one. Maybe it's a different color or a different pattern. Amazing. Yeah. I'm in. Like, count me in. It also reminds me of a story I heard where someone put BPA free on these like baby bottles or something like that. And everyone
all of them are, right?
Yeah, all of them are BPA free, but this one said it front row center. And so it just made people go, oh, well, check that off my list. I don't have to worry about it. And it also maybe gave them a sneaking suspicion. Well, wait, does that mean that the other ones have that in there? I'm not even sure what BPA is, but I don't like it. I want it to be free of that. So it's the same kind of a subtle jab at the competition, if you will, even though technically they all have the same benefit, if you will. So
100%. Yeah, that's a good example.
Oh, yours is fantastic too. That's really cool. So I'm starting to get a real good understanding of how it all comes together and how it all works. So do you have any strong opinions, Andri, on like a creative team at an agency? So, who are the users of Product Opinion? It's a lot of brands, right? And I'm assuming a lot of those brands are, 3P private label brands, probably from, a couple $100,000 a month to millions a month, because anyone can really use it, right? There's no limiting factor there. But Do you see people on like creative teams at agencies or at brands using it? Like, what does a successful creative team look like? Basically, if someone's watching this video and they're a seller, what should their creative team, what should their creative like stack be like? Of course, involving product opinion as one of their critical tools.
Yeah, good question. I'd say pretty much everybody is a customer of Product Opinion. So people who haven't launched yet, they use Amazon Search Simulation to bulletproof their launch and make sure that they have a chance, because they can run Amazon Search Simulation before the product even exists and see if they can get the clicks when they put their new product next to existing bestsellers in the space, and all the way to 7-8 figure sellers that honestly spend the most on testing because they really understand the ROI. So for them, even like 0.2% increase in conversion can pay for the next 2 years of using Product Opinion. Some of the products who sell like 30, 50, 60K a month improve conversion just a little bit. You paid for the whole experience of using the tool, right?
Right. Even 1% is going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Agencies are actually big fans because we have the most affordable pricing for it, and they do want to deliver the best results, including PPC agencies, because sometimes they get to the stage when they're like, oh, I think I've done everything I could have. Like, there's not much I can do here, but it's still not performing as much as I want to. And the easiest way to move the lever in terms of improving your TACOS or ACOS is to improve your conversion, because if you convert better, then your PPC ad spend goes down and your keyword ranking goes up, everything gets better, right? Amazon is all built around conversion, if you think about it. So yeah, I'd say agencies who are now transitioning, because I talk to a lot of them, to this new reality where AI is replacing a lot of the manual graphic design work, are often reducing their staff count. And what it's starting to look like is more like this person who's really good with understanding graphics and product presentation, who does the best work using AI tools, is going to stay. Because AI is replacing a lot of, even photo shoots, like a lot of what we used to do manually. And for brands who do have internal teams, it's becoming more and more so, as it's not necessarily the graphic designer that's critical role, but more like a creative director, someone who's willing to study the shopper behavior, customer objections, and put the right messaging into the visuals. Because making a nicer image is not as critical anymore. It's more of a commodity now. But what's critical is addressing the reasoning behind people's choices. Will they buy me? Why? Why do they buy others? If I can study that well and create the creative briefs properly, either for human or AI, I'm gonna win. So it's becoming more like 7-figure seller. I'd say just one creative director is probably enough, plus a suite of tools, Product Opinion, image creator, AI tools, and maybe sometimes on-demand creators for certain things, like maybe 3D design is needed, something like that. For 8-figure brands, I predominantly see like usually one creative director, maybe one super talented master of Photoshop/AI and all of the other tools as well. Yeah.
Interesting. So AI is causing the team size to decrease, which is not surprising at all, because you have one person that becomes that kind of, in the programming world, they call it the 10x developer, right? You get the 10x creative director now, is what we're experiencing with the rapid iteration of AI creative and the facility to do that, paired with tools like Product Opinion and other A/B testing features built into Amazon. That's really cool. Okay, that gives us a good understanding. Anyone watching, what kind of team you should try to put together if you're going to nail this creative stuff, which is, like we talked about, even if you do 1% or half a percentage point on some of your biggest sellers, can easily pay for tools, or maybe even someone's high paid position at a company if they're able to execute on that.
Absolutely.
And Andri, another thing you said that I definitely want to touch on again and agree with is PPC agencies becoming more and more creative savvy. This is something that we've tried to do and struggled with over the past couple of years. And now, as part of Sellerplex, a bigger company that already has a creative department, we're going to be fully plugging into that more and more. And I actually hope that we'll be using your software in the near future. I've been advocating for it internally already.
Make it happen.
Because I'm familiar with you, but I'm a little bit less familiar with some of these other features of it. So now I'm fully informed. So that actually leads me to one of the final questions, which is, Product Opinion. We've talked a lot about AI. We've touched on that just now, but do you have it integrated directly into the tool itself? Like, are you pushing in some sort of AI into the features that Product Opinion has?
Yeah, always looking into ways to optimize it, make it easier. So the first thing we implemented, I think it was like over a year ago now, was summarizing all the responses in a smart, concise way. So you don't have to read hundreds of people's reasoning in one-liners, but you can get the gist of it in 2, 3, 5 bullet points, and also action steps like, hey, this is what your graphic designer should do now with this information. So that's already built in for a while. What we also created, I think it was more like 6, 7 months ago, never really fully publicly announced, but there's a tool within Product Opinion that's called Variationizer. Okay, it's currently still technically beta, so it's free. People don't pay to use it. But what it does is essentially what you would imagine Canva built for Amazon sellers would do. So it has lots of different templates, labels, award badges, all of the things you may want to kind of quickly split test. And that kind of solves the problem of people not have enough assets to test. Now it's becoming easier and easier with AI. So we also built it into Product Opinion. And part of it has a feature that's called AI eye candy. So we realize that very often you win if there's some kind of eye candy. You get that attention, right? That instant impulse, oh, what's that? So for that, you can leverage AI built into Variationizer, where you can type in, let's say, red ribbon. 10 seconds later, you have multiple red ribbons to choose from. You can place it on the Canva, export that image, test. And you don't have to wait for 2 hours for your graphic designers to come up with something and send it back to you. So all of these small things that are good enough quality-wise for developing new concepts, new image variations, they're already there. And we have some creative agencies actually collaborating with us for more and more templated things to add to the images, like shades, different boxes, all of that kind of stuff that's easy to plug in and play, And I think that one will continue improving. That seems to be a very promising and in-demand tool, and some agencies are already utilizing it to great success. So that's another part of AI integration that we built into it.
Okay, that's really cool. So Variationizer is what you're calling it.
Yeah.
And AI candy. You're not calling it? Is it AI eye candy or is it AI candy? Because it's too easy just to say AI candy. It sounds very catchy.
Yeah, AI eye candy. We made it slightly longer.
Got it. And when you give the example of the red ribbon, so you're saying, generate a red ribbon, and then that is something you can put on the product or say the box, and then that's your new composite image, right? You're pulling it together like you would having like layers in Photoshop, multiple things on top of it like this.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine you're selling a cooking pan, and maybe that pan is specific for like cookies and muffins and maybe some other things. Let's say you have an image of the pan only, and maybe it's only from your supplier. You're just launching, don't even have a proper image. You can upload whatever you have. Say a cookie, you have 5 cookies to choose from, put one on the pan, export it, then you type muffin, you create a muffin, put it on the same image, export it. Now you have 2 things to split test, and you can easily measure which one's going to get more clicks. That kind of
fantastic.
logic.
Yeah, that's a great example. Okay, cool. Yeah, I can already see how the workflow fits together and how it's used. I think a lot of people that are in the Amazon space are very process oriented, so it's good for them to hear about how that comes together. Very cool, man. Last question. Is there anything that we haven't covered when it comes to like quick hacks or quick hits for improving click-through rate, conversion rate on Amazon, since that's your big focus?
I don't really believe in hacks, but I think the basics that a lot of people overlook are not enough people measure specifically conversion. And obviously I'm a little biased, but to me, conversion is the measure of everything. If you convert better than average, then you're doing well, because everything else kind of catches up automatically. So measure it somehow. Some people use brand analytics to see all the session percentages and that stuff. Some people measure it by PPC, so they see the conversion on PPC. I'm personally relying on keyword conversion as well. So I'm looking at scale insights, and I would compare average performance per keyword, what the conversion is like versus me. And that tells me if I need to work more on it. And it changes all the time too, because remember, it's very dynamic space. You may be killing it right now, but next month somebody else comes up with a better solution, better image, better pricing, better offer. You're losing, right? So you always have to kind of track these things to know when to attack, when to take action, and what exactly is causing it. It's not always the image, but image is something we have the most control over, because it's much easier than adjusting your pricing or jump in for another 1,000 reviews, right? Yeah, and definitely do not skip qualitative testing. So something we were talking about that we do with Pinion videos and Amazon Search Simulation, where you can read people's reasoning, like that's critical. Like otherwise, I have no idea how people come up with ideas. Because if you're just running your business all the time, your mind is in a different space than your customers, even if you are your target audience. So collect those ideas, leverage that, because most sellers don't. So you'll have that advantage. Yeah, and study your competition too. What do they really do differently? What does their listing have that yours doesn't? Is there product comparison video? Maybe. Maybe there's external traffic coming. So study what they do that you don't and copy. Copy like an artist or whatever the phrase is. Steal like an artist. Yeah, steal like an artist. And
Great artist steal, I think, is the quote, at least chopped down to the Steve Jobs distributed version. Yeah.
I think original was like maybe Da Vinci or one of those classics.
Yeah, one of the true classics when it comes to the ancient times. The one thing I think we've talked about so much on this episode that I didn't really foresee is kind of the mindset that you as the seller get into, because you're like, I know the product better than anyone. I know it, better than my customers is kind of what you're saying when you say that. But actually, you can very quickly humble yourself by seeing the data and you say, this is irrefutable. Actually, I don't know this as well as I thought I did, or the objections that I thought were key aren't, or the angle that I put this at is actually harming my sales if I look at the actual data or the qualitative opinions that I've got from dozens of people now that I have some anecdotal evidence and some real testing to back up. It turns out I'm wrong. And I think that's maybe like a bit of an ego. You have to take a step back from that.
Yeah, gotta be humble. And I've seen so many tests, and you'd be surprised how many times a prettier image underperforms against the crappier image.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the quality that you're after. And especially now with AI, everyone's gonna look perfect, like image quality wise.
Right.
It's who's going to address the customer need better. And that's why I'm so bullish on product opinion, because AI is not going to replace it. It's still real humans giving you feedback, because it's still real humans making the purchase.
I can't think of a better way to wrap it up, man. That's a quote for the ages. Now, Andri, if someone wants to get in touch with you or learn more about what you're doing at Product Pinion, what are the best places to find you, follow you online, and join some of your groups maybe?
Yeah, good one. I'm pretty active. All social media where you exist, I probably have an account. I'm the most active on LinkedIn. I feel like that's my favorite now. I feel like there's a lot of like-minded people that share ideas. So definitely LinkedIn, Andri Sadlak. And if you're down to jump on a demo call, you want to see how this can become your part of your process, you can just email me. It's andri@productpinion.com. Yeah, I think these would be the best places.
Perfect. I can confirm you're an excellent follow on LinkedIn. So everyone jump on that.
Appreciate it, Brent.
No problem. And thanks for coming on the show. And appreciate it, man.
Thank you.